to get everything ready, the services and the programs and the website and the member enrollment backend. So everything is actually is the contribution only can be happen without cannot be happen without we have so many volunteers put up their efforts and the time to get together. So I'm very excited to encourage all of you to participate in this membership. That's just because we need them as a Chinese community. We have to speak up for ourselves. We have to help each other, and given in this age, the technology develops so fast. We all need to constantly learn new things, and also we have the need of finding jobs and develop career development. So build up the career network. That's the need in the career development. And we also have the need of talking to the people who sharing the similar experience and similar feelings in the workplace and in school as well. So given all the needs, we need a community. We need a strong community. And that is the mission and the vision of CADSEA. At this moment, I really hope we will work together and we will study and learn together. We'll help each other to build up this community and for a much, much brighter future. So thank you so much, everyone, giving on time to participate in this forum. And I would encourage you spend a few more minutes going to www.cadsea.org to browse the website, understand and knowing more about our programs and services. And I look forward to having you as a member of CADSEA and work with you to build our community together. So next, I will introduce the Director of Membership, Jidong, Simon Jidong, to introduce the details of the programs.
Okay, thanks, Richard. Hi, Richard, can you hear me or can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. Yeah, I think before I speaking, I want to maybe on behalf of Ken to mention webinar right now is in the recording. So we want to keep that for the future reference. And that's also can become a great benefit for people who become a member in the future, who can review the past event. Okay, yeah, let me go back to the topic about the membership. So first of all, I want to mention after several months of preparation, which involving many volunteers and members from several operation teams, I'm so glad to announce that pre-registration of CADSEA membership finally arrived. As Richard mentioned, the CADSEA website is ready now. Information related to the membership can be found at cadsea.org/membership. Here, I want to give my special thanks to our IT support team, membership service team, and the program team. I want to use my following 5 minutes quickly talk about 3 things: benefit, cost, and how to pre-register. First, about the benefit to becoming a CADSEA member. I think it can summarize by one sentence, which is we are stronger when we are together. As we repeat in several past events, the benefit of becoming member including at least 3 things. Number 1, admission to all regular events, including forum, seminar, and networking event. It's all covered by the membership, which means becoming member, you will not pay extra money for the next 12 months for regular event. As Richard mentioned, this association was founded in last year. We organized so many events to help people to sharp up their technology skill, to broaden their networking, and also build up their our own leadership. In 2020, we already hosted 2 events. I believe today's talking by Taylor will be another success event. Regarding the special event, right now, depends on the members' interest. CADSEA is designing special event, such as a workshop, such as a group project. The one Richard just mentioned, the COVID-19 data tracking, is co-led by Richard and Chao Wu. At the same time, we are planning career development and immigration-related topics and 2020 annual conference. All these special event members can receive the discount, the price. The last but not least, becoming a member, people can have the right to make election of our CADSEA officers. So that's my first topic. My second topic about the cost. CADSEA is a nonprofit organization. We dedicated to build a platform, grow up our community. At the same time, we need to pay the bills and make sure we are self-sustainable. We collect membership dues to cover our day-to-day operation cost, and we always offer a deeply discounted membership for full-time student. The membership is annual based, which covers the next 12 months after the payment. One special thing I want to mention is that due to COVID-19, we have already offered a discounted membership deal for people who register in the rest of this year, for both student and professional. We may adjust back to the normal price in the year of 2021. For the detail of the cost, please see the website of cadsea.com/membership. That's also shared by Ken on this screen. Lastly, I think people may be very interested about how to pre-register. Right now, we are accepting membership pre-registration. Please send email to membership.cadseadc@gmail.com. In the subject line, please add new members. Don't worry, we will send out this information after today's meeting. Finally, I want to thank all the hard work and effort from our volunteer, including Tony Liang, Xinlong Han, Jingya Gao, Nan Yunzhang, Hong Lin, Lei Yu, and many others. Sorry if I miss their name there. So without their help, it's impossible for today's pre-registration. Let me summarize. For people who are interested, we will send out the way how people can pre-registration. Then we will have the follow-up instruction on how to officially become the CADSEA member. So thanks for the people who I sincerely welcome people become the membership and join this big family. That's come together and build up the community. Okay, that's let me go back to Ken. Thanks.
Thank you, Jidong. Thank you for the membership team hard work and get these things out during the hard time. I think both Richard and Jidong has mentioned that so our organization is a nonprofit organization, but we have to cover many kinds of daily expenses. Without your support, this CADSEA cannot be a sustainable association. So the CADSEA team really hope that all of you can contribute to this association while you are learning things and receiving things from
How can we maybe get lost here?
You may have some audio issue. Do you?
No?
Okay, you're back.
Okay, so since when you lost me?
You just mentioned, can you just mention something? We are the we welcome people to join, and together we kind of build up community.
Yes, yeah. So I really encourage all of you to consider join the membership. That will be a great support to this association, so that our program can be sustainable. We can provide more and more useful resource for the community to grow altogether. All right, that's the membership program, and then I would like to introduce our guest speaker today, Mr. Tiger Tom. Um, Mr. Tiger Tom is a data scientist at Carfax. He dedicated to building data science community at Carfax, and he has designed and developed customized R training to developers and data analysts at Carfax, so which has the automation project with R and Shiny has saved over 1,900 hours at Carfax. Tiger Tom is a big fan of Shiny. Shiny is an R tool that for you to build a dashboard, interactive dashboard. Besides earning an honorable mention from the first Shiny contest, he has won Carfax Hackathon Championship multiple times with R Shiny apps. Tiger Tom was recently invited to give a speech at a local DCR conference. I like 2 years, a couple years ago, I spent $900 to register for that event. So keep in mind that we CADSEA bringing 900 value speaker to the free Zoom meeting for you. So with that, I want to hand over this to Ms. Tiger Tom to start his speech today. Tiger.
All right, thank you, Ken.
Yeah, you can share your screen now.
All right. So do you mind stop sharing? All right, can everybody hear me and see my screen?
Yes, I can see.
All right, thanks. So hello, everyone. It's good to have you join this talk with me. It's my first time presenting at the CADSEA, and then you can call me Tiger. And a little bit more about me. I came to the US for my master's degree in marketing analytics at University of Maryland. Prior to that, I've been a professional lecturer at New Random School for like 3 years. Me personally, I love teaching and sharing. So after I joined Carfax, I devote that part of my passion to giving R trainings to dozens of analysts and developers. So I use R to do a lot of things. One of the things is, as Ken mentioned, hackathon. It may not be the frequently used language for that, but I was able to do a few things with R and Shiny. And part of my job is also to build data tools for my team. And as Ken just mentioned, I'm a big fan of Shiny. So if you haven't heard about it, check it out. And then it's a great package and also framework that allows our user to share their ideas of data stories with web applications. And then, so if I have extra time at the end of this session, I will definitely be honored to share with you what I submit for the first Shiny contest. And other than the other data science projects, I've been working on this automation project that saved me around, saved the company around 2,000 hours yearly. So I know that maybe we have a lot of R users, maybe you're new to R, but I really would like to share you what I did with this project that really helped me out in my professional growth, and then show you what I did, and then what I have learned from it, and what to avoid if you're thinking about doing something similar. So right before we dive in to the project itself, I wanted to talk a little bit more about the R ecosystem. So very early on, I think R just came in the 90s, and it was first designed for statisticians. So I think when you're talking about building models and then doing statistical programming, R might be one of your top choices. But recently, with RStudio, the company who provides the very user-friendly IDE for R programming, you probably have heard the package name Tidyverse, which is a collection of R packages that does a lot of things related to data science or data. And you might also have heard about ggplot2, that allows the R user to easily program and produce a reusable R plot. And you might have heard dplyr that does data manipulation, Shiny, we just mentioned it, and then R Markdown for documentation, package called Blastula, which is fairly new, and then that allows our user to send emails and then construct beautifully written emails within R. And you have Bookdown that allows you to write, let's say, books that can be shared online, and then also with your within your internal organization. Packages like Lubridate that handles the date, ReadR to handle the data import. But just this will in no way would represent the whole R ecosystem. But during the recent years, there are a lot more. I have personally seen a lot of great developers joining RStudio or joining the R community to develop a lot of more things. And then I just wanted to let you know there has been a lot more added to the R ecosystem. And then you'll also be surprised to hear that people can now build games within R. And then me, myself, I actually built some simple games within R. So, afterwards we can, if we have more time, we can definitely talk about those. And then about this project, I will be mentioning some of those packages throughout the process. So a little bit of background about this project is that this started a few years back when I first joined Carfax. That's when we first moved from SAS to R. And and then at that time, the R adoption rate was not too high. So people were programming in SAS, and then now SAS is gone. So a lot of things that are just handled within Excel. And then you will also know that so for Carfax, we deal with a lot of data. And then for small reports, of course, Excel might be able to handle that. But whenever the row number passes 1 million, Excel will probably be useless in that case. And for me particularly, when I first joined, I was tasked with 3 reports that deal with Excel. So let me show you a little bit more about what that report would look like. So at a very early on of producing that report, I would need to open SQL to interact with a SQL database. And then I have a pre-written SQL, handed off by a previous analyst who owns this report. What I need to do is to update the parameter, either a state parameter or other parameter, and then click run. Afterwards, you wait, export the results, clean the results, and then you will update the format, try to make it prettier and more straightforward, update its digit if it's related to dollar value, and then you will need to add the $ sign there, something like that. And then lastly, you wanted to draft the email based on the findings from the report, and then have that high-level summary to your stakeholder, and then press send. So for a typical report like this, from beginning to end, it will approximately take me around 1 hour. And imagine that times 3, when most of the time, the reports are due before noon on Monday. So this is what my Monday used to look like. Actually, I was exaggerating. I couldn't really type that fast. So I looked further. And then what I realized was that a lot of those tasks, they can actually be divided or categorized into several different categories. Let's say for the first part, the part that involves all the stuff within SQL, that's just interaction with Oracle. The part that requires me to export the results, clean the results, do the data manipulation, update the format, it's all in Excel. And the last part is in Outlook. Then I began to wonder, what if there is a tool that allows me, instead of me going into those, these three different apps, I can just handle it within one process. So instead of talking to three, I can just get my job done by talking to one application. Then that's when I realized that all of these interactions can be done by having those R packages in place. For example, R Oracle would allow me to establish a connection between R and Oracle server. So instead of me going into Oracle and then find the query and then update it, I can just do that within R session, and then by updating its parameters. And then I can send the code to the Oracle server to handle the results and then send back the outcome within my R session. And then instead of me going into Excel to do the data manipulation, to do whatever pivot table, and I can just do that very easily with the dplyr. And the part that requires me to update a format, and I can just handle that by a package called read Excel or open Excel. In this case, there are so many similar packages that does the job. In this case, I'm just using the ones that I can find the core hexagon, hex sticker, as an example. And the part that requires me to draft an email with to summarize the report, I can just do that by having by interacting with packages like Blastula or Gmail R. And the part that really requires me to summarize the report, and I can just handle that by a bunch of if-else statements or case-when statements there. So after realizing that, I spent a few hours to compile everything within one R project. Since I'm not able to share you any of the actual code, let's just imagine there are beautifully written R code there. So as you can also see that even though this is a fake demo, I have at my R session here, you will also see that all the file names that I have, it follows the default ordering, and as well as the overall report trigger. I also left the minimal notes there so that prepare myself to understand why I did what I did there in 6 months, or to be able to let it be shared by my teammates. So now all you have to do in this case, instead of going through all of those steps, you just need to do a control all within this overall report trigger that does step 00 to step 03 in there, and then run. So let's look at this report flow again. So in the past, it used to require me 1 hour to go from point A to B, from end to end, to go through all of these checkpoints myself. It would take me around 1 hour. But now, instead of me going through all of these checkpoints, I just have all of these packages doing those check-ins for me. And then now, what used to take me 1 hour, which is like a bullet train that would just take me 12 seconds to open the RStudio session, find the R script, control all, and run. Now, this is what my new Monday would look like. Definitely, I'm a lot happier there. And if you even compare those two GIFs closely, you will see that I don't even need my coffee there. So whenever we're looking at doing things like streamline tasks, and then doing automation, we always think about the hours saved. You will think about, okay, this used to take me a few hours, now it's 1 minute. That's impressive. But as I think more, and I realized there are more benefits to doing stuff like this. The first one I can think about is the documentation. For most of the reports that I was handed off, there was either no documentation or the documentation was no longer valid, which means the previous report owner, they were just doing those analysis, they were creating those reports by however they remembers it. So, but having this one, but now we will be able to reference each individual steps by looking at the R scripts. Also, by doing work like this, we help increase the accessibility of the report by having all of those steps at one R scripts. A lot of times, I bet you guys will find this comment relevant, is that whenever you develop something new, and then you will always hear comments like, so what happens when you hit by a bus or win the lottery? Who's going to be your backup for this new process you develop? In this case, you don't have to worry about it, because with all the notes and the comments, and then with everything within that R script, you have the coverage figured out by yourself. And lastly, remember we were talking about I used to need to update the parameters and run that by myself and then construct the emails there. In that case, we're trying to avoid the ad hoc human error. So then, since it has so many benefits, I looked further. I took a little bit of evaluation about all of these similar tasks that fits this type of criteria in my department. What I found was that in a given month, my department was handling around 120 recurring reports. That includes all of these different frequencies. And then there are around 40 analyses for different departments. And there are around 150 ad hoc requests from all sides of the business that require, on a high level, accessing data with SQL. And then most likely, they're non-technical, and then they have either no access to SQL or they're not familiar with the SQL database. So then I began to think to myself, so what if we could do all of these in R? I was just thinking out loud. And then I wasn't sure. So, but later that day, I watched an inspirational TV show episode, and I saw this comment, and I was like, all right, let's do it. So I initiated this project called Rocky. And then I gotta say, one of the perks of doing stuff like this is that you can name your project however you want. And then in this case, Rocky, this film series that started in the 70s, this character never loses. And then Rocky starts with R. So about this project, one of the first things that I offer is the automation of reports and analysis, like the flow that I just showed you guys. But then whenever we're talking about automation and stuff, there are always different levels, or I would like to say that we always have different goals there. The very first part is always to rewrite the steps in R. So if you recall that the very first thing that I thought about in the workflow is that whatever that used to be handled by other applications or through other steps within Oracle, Excel, or Outlook, the very first thing I did was to rewrite those steps within R. So instead of us going to those applications, we're just doing those things, exact same thing within R. The second big thing is to control the input parameter. So I was mentioning that I need to update a SQL query, or I need to construct an ad hoc email there. So in that case, we can do a lot of manipulation with either the date parameter. Let's say a lot of the weekly report would require you to update the date parameter when you run the SQL query. So in that case, you can use functions within Lubridate, like floor date, to find the beginning and the end for last week, and then use that to replace your human efforts of updating those within SQL database. And then that's just one simple example. And then you can, as for the email, you can construct all the different scenarios so that instead of you having you to input those things, then you can have the logic, the R session to handle that for you. But that's not done. The next part is try to streamline your process. If the first part is to construct the dots, this part is called connecting the dots. Is that we don't still, even though now the steps are within R, we don't want to go to each of the R scripts and then click run. We wanted to be able to do it one time. So we need to connect all of these processes. We need to make sure those R scripts, they can be speaking to each other. So that's when you will need to pay attention to your global environment to see if there is any reused variables that will be causing confusions there. And once you lay down all of these processes in front of you, instead of having all of those steps in front of you, you will be able to easily find that there might be certain steps that are duplicates that or can be avoided. So that's what we will call the process improvements there. But lastly, having that R script to be able to run it on your local machine is not good enough. We'll always need to think about if we can run this, if we can somehow remove the local dependency to allow the R script to run it either on the server or on someone else's computer. So let's say if your R script constantly refers to a variable or a process that's only accessible to you on your local computer, this process will never work on the server or on your teammate's computer when you're out and then asking him to do the coverage for you. And also another part is that you will always need to definitely recommend it to prepare yourself for the error lookup by having preparing statements like try catch, and then to prepare those situations for future sharing and then for future troubleshooting. So if we can summarize the different levels for the automation, the first part is fulfill the task. You're just doing exactly what you have been doing. The second part is that we don't want to just do the same thing. We were able to convert everything within R. Now we wanted to make it better. So you need to check the efficiency to even also see that if there's any other function that can do the same job faster, maybe utilize multiple cores instead of having that to just run by one single thread. And lastly is to prepare for the next steps. Like I said, for the future sharing and troubleshooting. So a very quick example with the previous report is that after I did the goal number 1, I began to reevaluate this and then see if there is any step that can be avoided. Then what I realized is that the part that requires me to update the format and then to construct a report within Excel, which is really not user-friendly when you're trying to either import or write it out through any application there. And then what I realized is that, you know what, I don't even need to do it within Excel. I can just use one of the packages I mentioned earlier, R Markdown, to provide a HTML document to the stakeholder or to the report recipients. In that, I can also add more user-friendly notes, and then so now I have one last application to speak to. So with that, I also try to remove all the local dependencies that requires, let's say, the Oracle password to have an account, special account from the database administrator, so that account information will be utilized however you're running it, either on the server or on someone else's computer. Then I have that launched on a task scheduler, which is an R package, or you can have that run. You can have that on something like Control M or RStudio Connect if your organization has that. So now the report, instead of me clicking run every Monday, it would just run every 8 a.m. On a Monday. So by the time I get to the office, the report is probably ready. So the next part I offered for that is the documentation of reports and analysis. Whenever I think about the documentation, I always think about this things that I can do to make the process and then to make the report easier to understand, easier to learn for my teammates. So in that case, the first thing I offered was the step-by-step instructions for all reports. And very early on, I mentioned this package called Bookdown. So I have each report as a different section, and then so that by having those instructions, it's actually for the team or for the department or whoever is interested within the company, they can just access this one central link and then read it like a book. In case there's any newly edits to the report documentation, the website will be re-rendered. The book will be re-rendered on the same address. So whenever you are accessing that link, you will always be referencing the latest instructions. And then another thing I did was I developed an internal package called TigerR, a package that triggers the most up-to-date version for the reports. Like I said, for those reports, maybe there are some, maybe there will be newly edits, and then it was stored either on the shared drive, your local computer, or on Git. In that case, I have each individual function that's within this that's written within this package, and then so whenever you need to, or I or my teammate needs to run the report, they will just need to call the function. The function will call the latest version on internal Git for that report, so that we don't have to worry about spend too much time worrying about what's the latest version for this. The next part is analysis. So what's the difference between the reports and analysis? That report would have a controllable input parameter, and for analysis is that there might be more steps that's needed for the analyst to do. So in that case, I also have individual instructions for maintaining all the R scripts by using the package I mentioned, R Markdown, so that you will be the analyst will be owning that R Markdown document and then be using that to facilitate discussions with stakeholder in case there is any new requirements needed. And I also have a package that handles part of the analysis, and then so that you will be, instead of us sharing the code, let's say the functions that will be recurrently used by the team on Slack or by email, and I would just have that on our package that everybody can call out. So the next part I was offering was the applications. So this part is the part that relates to Shiny. So I'm a big fan of Shiny, like Ken mentioned and I mentioned earlier. So to me, Shiny is a way for us to show the data story and insights to stakeholders in our view. Well, a lot of times you will see that, let's say, the part, the colorful little people vector there, that represents the typical stakeholder who is interested in the data story or the data insights, but who is not really necessarily familiar with all the stuff on the right-hand side, that's Oracle, MySQL, Redshift, or Hadoop. So it is I think Shiny provides us a very good opportunity to provide a view for the stakeholder to look at all of these data. So, and of course, there are a lot of more packages that you can use. Shiny is just mainly that one framework. So for those applications, I mainly have two types of them. So one is for our account management team to handle the day-to-day ad hoc requests, and the other is some of the specialty apps that I developed for the departments to do individual analysis. So the first part, the account management part, what they need to do as part of the day-to-day ad hoc request is that they need to find the health level for the account by going into SQL database and then to check out the health level by the account. So I built this application called Ramble, which allows them to check that out, without really running into any of the SQL database, SQL query. But all they need to do is just to put in a date parameter and a unique identifier for the account. And then in 10 minutes, they will get an email about all the information that they need, together with the insights that they wanted to have. So in that case, there is no resolution time needed. So in the past, they need to submit a ticket or request to our team. Now, they don't need to wait for anyone. They just need to access this tool. When you think about it, this concept is extremely powerful, is because this type of framework will bridge the technical gap for them. And then now it's instead of them trying to go through your data science team to look at the SQL database, now they're just interacting with Shiny app to interact with the SQL database. Since we have multiple account management team and then different needs for them, I have Rambo 2, Rambo 3, and then to handle all of these different requests. And at a given day, all of these first three apps, it handles around 50 different requests, which would previously come in as a ticket request to our team. And that way, all of these 50 tickets will be handled by those three tools. And the next part is the specialty apps. So by the way, I was not able to share you the actual content for the app. What I was able to show you is the favicon here. So it's all going to be the Carfax logo related. And then especially for this one is that it's an application for the PR department. And then we're to help, they're trying to, they can use this to find data stories to help the public to raise awareness around fraudulent activities like odometer rollback, flood damage, about open recalls to help the general public. And then another one is that this final one is what I built recently, is to allow a lot of stakeholders to allow the end user to try to help a NLP process, NLP project accuracy, without needing them to understand what NLP stands for. So when you think more about Shiny, there's really a lot more things that you can do. And then also you're moving yourself out of the equation for the efforts. So after that part, I gotta say that a lot of those things, to me at that time, it sounds really cool. And then, but really, you don't want to be the only one who does that type of thing. So I also initiated a lot of trainings for the department. The first part is I wrote a basic Are You Ready book to allow the new R user that came to the team and then to get them up and running for R. And then after they run through that, and then I provide a Master of Shiny Tidyverse training to allow them to get to know all the other R tools that's available on the market. And from time to time, I will be providing the more intermediate or advanced topics like Shiny Dashboard, building R packages, and then even talking about async in Shiny apps. So all of these, overall, it looks like pretty solid to me at that time. But until something hit me, is that I almost forgot this is going to be as important as almost as writing the R code, is the communication part. So let's say at first, when I was talking to my supervisor about this project, I was super pumped. But my supervisor was not on the same excitement level as I was, because in his mind, he was constantly thinking about what is the return on investments here, and what are the other projects we can devote time to. So, and I believe if you're trying to initiate similar projects like this, it's going to be your first question from your supervisor too. So in that case, I will be recommending a cost-benefit analysis there. And then since I'm not really going to teach business communication, but this is something that really worked out for me. So by doing that, and then you will need to definitely track your efforts and then track your progress, and then to show what's the before and after for this project. And of course, for me, I did all of these in R. And so that once in a while, I will kick off a bunch of R process that does the cost benefit analysis, cost the tracking, and then for the efforts, and then the progress. Another part is that when you're doing the actual execution for this project, definitely make sure that you have communicated well with your coworkers, and then to share what's the expectation, and then what is the goal for that. Because very early on when I was talking about automation, and then everybody was, the managers, after they get it, and then they were pretty happy, but for your coworker, maybe not, because very early on at that time is when people hear a lot of concerning talks about AI, about AI replacing our jobs, and then they were like, oh, can't believe AI already hit us. But that's why it is so important for you to share the expectation and the goal of the project, is that you guys are on the same team, and the main goal is to help reduce the efforts, and then to help your coworker to focus, to utilize their expertise and their attention on the projects that really need their attention. So definitely need to make sure that part gets communicated, and that you're not really replacing anyone's human efforts there, but only trying to help everybody else to do that. And the third part is the stakeholder. For the stakeholder, you definitely wanted to talk to them about the impact of the business, and then but you'll almost also wanted to set the correct expectation for those, is that building a shiny app like that, it wouldn't be easy. It sounds really cool, and then it will be having a big impact for the business, but you can't be able to reproduce that in a day, which will have the similar effect. And almost never try to share any of the technical breakthrough with anyone who is not technically related to the coding section or the project. For example, one time I was super pumped about a new application I built that utilized async, which allows the application to have concurrent users. So, but for the stakeholders, when they see the app, they can have multiple sessions there. So when I was saying, oh, how great async is, they were not really surprised, or they were not really impressed. And at that time, should I really pull off async and then let the application to go back to single thread? Maybe not. The next part that I faced was trying to determine the right balance. So a lot of times we think about automation, we almost feel like that's the opposite expression for manual work. Maybe it is, but also wanted to remind you to the importance of finding the right balance between manual work and development. The goal for me was never to replace the manual work 100%. It's to replace manual work with reasonable resources. For example, there's one time I think I was able to replace the manual efforts for 99% for one analysis. And what's left was that the analyst needs to check one email recurrently from a provider to look at the one section, the number from one section of a PDF. And then which takes around maybe 10 seconds each month. And then he was asking, will we be able to automate that? So if you realize that the ask is that we will probably need to do some of the OCR and then on the PDF, where the format could change from month to month. And then the savings we're talking about here is around 10, 15 seconds each month. But the developing time may take you around 1 or 2 hours or more. So in that case, having part of the manual work can be acceptable. The second one I wanted to talk about is what's cool versus what's useful. I bet this probably also occurred to you, some of you, is that you could really be spending hours to make a plot, to make a data visualization jump out of the page by adding, let's say, 3D effects or animation. But would that really change how people see your data story or how people understand it? Maybe not. So in that case, For me, I know that I would get super excited about a lot of new processes. But when it comes to this project, I would always rely on what's more useful versus what is cool. And lastly, is doing specific things in R and doing all things in R. Like I mentioned, I even did my hackathons, all my hackathons in R. So for my daily life, I try to do everything there. So one time I heard my teammate was complaining about this planning project, planning application that the team was using. So for me, I was like, maybe I can build something within R. So spent around 2 weeks, and then I built a fully functional Shiny app that will allow each of the teammates to track the project and then to make a planning board easily. Then when I was ready to share this with the team, I realized they just switched the whole thing to Roadmunk. That's when I realized that a lot of times you don't have to reinvent the wheels. If their existing process exists in a language that does the same thing easier, probably do that. So now let's look at the current workflow I have. For this whole project, I typically have 3 different roles. One is the analyst, who owns the report and who handles the day-to-day report and analysis and the requests. We have the supervisor role, and then I have myself. In that case, the first thing that if there's a new project that comes in to this, let's say, new item that wanted to go through the automation project I have, the first thing I would ask the analyst to do is the documentation for all the requirements, so that once we move to the further development, we will have some documentation to refer to or to discuss. The next part is that we will have a discussion with the managers to determine the prioritization for this project, for this item, so that we will see which one would come first, which one would come second. And then we move to the development phase. In that case, I will be meeting with the analyst. I will do the development, and we will handle the unit testing and then user testing, acceptance test separately. And then I will hand it out for the analyst to do everything else going forward. And then by following those by following those process there, and then it really will help out you yourself when handling the overall project. And always remember to try to show the before and after progress for this, so that you need to constantly remind your people around you, your coworker, stakeholder, your manager, that this is working. So maybe this is not the exact way to show like this picture, but you get it. And let's switch back a little bit about the R ecosystem that we talked about. So there are a lot of packages there. So in this case, if we're looking at, let's say, the day-to-day analysis or the reports, we'll probably just use, instead of using the other, interacting with the other application, we just use packages like readr or Oracle to pull the data within R. And then we can use packages like dplyr, tidyr, lubridate to do the, let's say, to handle the data cleaning part. And we'll use ggplot2, plotly, or markdown to handle the report communication. And then lastly, we send it out. So for all of these reports, you can almost divide them into this 4 different sections. But maybe it's not readr, maybe it's R Oracle, maybe it's Sargent to connect to drill in Hadoop. And then you will have a second lane to handle the documentation with stuff like that. And then lastly, for all of these ad hoc requests, you can utilize Shiny to develop different applications that requires the interactivity. And lastly, you will also provide the adequate training for the new people on this project, so that you will not be the only one who does this. So let's sum up a little bit. So far, these are what I have achieved for this project. So there are a bunch of reports, analysis, requests, and then with the documentation, application, now all of these reports, analysis can be handled, easily accessed, transferred, and then the whole team is at a much better place now than 3 years ago. and when we were just adopting R, and then now we're almost saving 2,000 hours per year. So overall, for this whole session, what I wanted to show you is mainly, if you're new to R, if you're just, if you're a R developer, trying to show you what are the possibilities there. And then if you're thinking about doing projects like this, what will you be likely to be facing? So if you're thinking about, if you're interested in doing R projects like this, or some of the other, let's say, data science projects together, or if you just wanted to exchange notes, here are some of the contact I have. And then definitely feel free to contact me if you have a similar project. And then I would definitely recommend to connect on LinkedIn. And then I will be honored, and then I would be happy to help out, and then to exchange notes there. All right, so that's all I have. So Ken, is there any questions or?
Yes. Yes. So we. Sorry. So I think all of. I don't know who is speaking. So we're all muted by, I mean, automatically. So if you want to ask a question, you can unmute yourself. And I think a lot of people will have questions. So I want to take the, opportunity to ask first question. So
sure.
I'm actually, impressed by your speaking English. I want to, I guess a lot of people have the same question. So could you please kind of tell us how to improve our speaking English? Like, we want to really get to the level that you're having now.
Well, that's an unexpected question. So I was more thinking about our related question, but anyway, so for me, yeah, I wasn't really prepared for that. Definitely, feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn, and then if you're interested in that, and then we can probably do a different session. So because previously that was my job to help people to improve their phonetics, the pronunciation, stuff like that. So definitely, if you're interested, and then if you feel like the members, they're interested in these type of things, and then I'm more than happy to to have a different session to talk about those. And but in general,
that'd be cool. Yeah, that'd be
definitely.
cool. So I think another question is, I think you give a great introduction of the R automation, and so I know that you have a lot of experience doing the training for I mean, at Carfax.
Right.
So, and it looks like, I mean, I personally have like around.
You can't see me. You can't see me. You can't see me.
It looks like we can.
You can mute that specific.
I think all people are mute now. I don't know where they come from. So
Da, 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 da.
where did they come from?
Just mute R.
Mute or, yeah. Okay, you guys still hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so if there is such a demand, like people wanted to learn R from zero, would you like to like host a like 1 day or 2 day workshop for us to like teach people how to get into R? Tiger? You have to unmute yourself.
All right, yeah. So I was just trying to say that yes, definitely. It is. It has been my goal, to help out new R user. So if you're new to R, and if you're trying to learn more about R, I'm more than happy, to present, and then to teach you guys to do some of the sessions, workshop, 1 day workshop about either master the tidyverse, about Shiny, about any other intermediate topics there.
Yeah, that'd be great. We can talk about that, offline. Maybe I'll reach out to you later, for that.
Sure.
Yeah. So any attendees have questions? Please unmute yourself.
Hey, this is Mark Shu, USDA. I have a question.
Oh,
Yes,
sure.
go ahead.
Tiger, great presentation. I have a question about the Shining app that you developed.
Right.
Does it remain at a desktop environment or intranet or deployed on some sort of server? Can you explain that?
Oh yeah, sure. It's a very good question. It sounds like you're definitely experienced with Shiny app. So in that case, I would say all of these, either option would work depending on specific need. But for my, we have the internal server that has the Shiny server open source, and then we are also partnering with RStudio. We have the RStudio Connect. So I have applications on the open source server, open source version of Shiny server, and I also have applications on RStudio Connect, which is accessible to the internal stakeholder at Carfax. Yeah, so does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you. Follow-up question.
Sure.
I understand you can't show the Shiny app. Just a question, is the app at the point that someone don't have any knowledge about R can use it, or somebody still needs some R knowledge to use it?
Very good question again. So in that case, you don't have to have, so for the most of the application I build, you don't have to have any knowledge about R or even about, data science. And again, I build those applications specifically to the stakeholders' needs. So most of the time, the stakeholder, they do not have the technical background. They're not really familiar with the database or all of these stuff. So for me, you can almost treat it as like as a regular web application, but it just handles the requests. So, what I know is that you can also build applications, for the analyst who does understand those databases, and then you can have more advanced, applications or input parameter for them to choose.
Thank you.
No problem.
Yes, Tiger, there is a question in the chat box. The question from Yuan Dongqi is asking,
right.
how do you
So-
address the security issue when you communicate with your coworker using R-generated reports like Shiny app dashboard or book-down web pages?
Right. So it's a great question. So I would definitely so in those security type of thing, I would definitely recommend to have definitely do not host your application on any of the server that someone that, let's say, people who are not authorized to see those reports would have access to. So in that case, even if, let's say, if you're just using the open source Shiny version, make sure that's only accessible to your internal user at your company. And then if you're hosting those on, let's say, AWS or on the other platform, make sure, or if there is more security concerns, you can have the authentication implemented. I think there are authentication, you can implement those for the open source as well. And then you can also have RStudio Connect or RStudio Shiny Server Pro. Those would be you will probably spend what's that? That is not free, but what I have been experiencing is that their security is handled pretty well by the RStudio team. So so that would be the same thing for Shiny app, Shiny dashboard, book-down web pages, or even R Markdown. So for RStudio Connect, you can use R Markdown there and then share there, and only share it with particular or selected people who has the access to it.
Yes, and I want added to that question a little bit because I've been using R for many years as well. So I think when you're talking about R-generated reports, so it's like same thing as your like Word or PowerPoint presentation deck. So if you use an R locally in your laptop, it's locally stored, right? If you don't distribute it to people that people who are not supposed to have the access, then it's locally in your laptop. And if you use that R Shiny or R in server, then the report sits in that server. You can, like if you generate the reports like in HTML format or PDF format, and then you save it in a locally or in a server, if you don't send that to people, then people won't get access to it. And also for the HTML report, you can of course share the link to the R Markdown reports, and then you can only distribute the link to people who are supposed to access to that report, right? It's the same thing as your your Word document. I think that way. And for Shiny app, so I've never done so, but I guess you can. I believe you can add, password stuff for your Shiny dashboard, and then you can only give this password to the authorized people. Is that right, Tiger?
Yes. So that's the authentication option for the open source, and then for the RStudio Connect version, and then you will have you can integrate that with a single sign-on as well for those, and then for whoever has those access, you can still have a different privilege for those users. So definitely check it out if you're interested in that that category. There are a lot of ways of handling those.
Yeah.
All right. Any other questions?
It seems someone raised her hand. Amy?
Yeah, thank you. Thanks, Tiger, for the very nice presentation. So my question is, how long does it take you to develop the Rocky project? And also, since this is not a manager or stakeholder required state project, how did you manage all the development phase?
Right. This is a great question. I think I think you're already thinking ahead. So that's the type of question I was trying to answer. Doing that communication part of the presentation, is that at very early on, it sounds like this is a great project, and especially it's you thought. So I thought about the project myself, right? And then so it's not something like of the company's priority. Definitely not. So what I did was I was just presenting to the managers to say that, hey guys, let's just I'm just going to use fake numbers now. Now for all the the reoccurring tasks, we're using around let's say 3,000 hours for everybody in this department together. 3,000 hours each year to do all of these things. But potentially we can reduce that type of efforts and to have those those hours to focus on something else that's more important on the roadmap ahead of us. And then I gave them an estimation of how much time I would need to develop those things, and then make sure that they understand this is going to be my primary job there. So that's kind of one of the way of doing it. Or you can ask for, let's say, 2-3 team member that you feel like, oh, they're also interested in this, and then you can tell them that let's have 3 members of the team focus on this for X number of months, and then this is when, and then you can show them this is when you can show you will be able to see the return on investments. So definitely it will require a lot of communication, because honestly this is not going to be your day-to-day job just for any of the companies. But in the long term, you will need your your supervisor or someone on your team to share that vision with you. So that's when the communication piece becomes really, really important. So for me, at the very early on, I was like, this is great. I think, no one is going to say no to this. But the first question they ask is that, how long do you think this is going to take you? And that's just, that I was caught off guard, because I never thought about it. I just thought this is a great thing to do. So later on, I, after a week, I did a lot of the estimation there, and I gave them around maybe, I didn't say specific hours. I just said, if you give me, let's say 40-30% of my time, make that allow me to use that part of the time to develop this, you know, each month I can provide some of those savings. So it's not like I can complete the whole project in 3 months. It's going to be a long-lasting project since there will be new requests coming in. So the way I handle it is that I ask for 30% of my time, and then each month I will have a stakeholder meeting with them to say that for the past 1 month, these are the number of reports I automated, and then these are the savings. So they will immediately see that, oh, you know, the return on investment is really high. So they just kept supporting, and then they kept adding resources to this project. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, sure, definitely. Very good. So how long does it take for you to reach the first stakeholder meeting? So you said like you devote like 30% of your time in each month. So let's say maybe like 3 months you get a prototype or a very like a toy project to show them the potential of doing so. So how long does it take first stage?
Gotcha. Actually, I had the first meeting during the first month. So because for me, I wasn't working on the big ones. I just started small, and then you know, as a proof of concept. Let's say if there's a report, if you have a report that's a weekly report that's going to take you, let's say 2 hours each week, and then you spend developing time, let's say maybe 20 hours to downgrade that 2 hours to 2 minutes or maybe 10 minutes. You can use that as an example to show your stakeholder that, hey, look at this thing that I developed, and it used to take me X number of hours. Now look at the new version, and then it's going to save us 1.5 hours each week. So that's the type of thing that you can showcase. You don't have to focus on make a very, very big project to work and then tell them, look, this is working. You don't have to do that. You can just start small and then show them a proof of concept. And then that's how you will get more resources to continue working on this.
Yeah, very, very nice. I think that's awesome. Thank you so much.
No problem. All right.
Hi, Tiger.
Any other?
This is Wei. Yeah. Can I ask a question?
Yeah, sure.
Sure. First of all, thanks for the presentation. Very nice presentation. Very cool application for R in this project, and also your contribution there. I think your company would appreciate all the investment they put in the first time.
Yeah, I hope so.
It's all payoff. Yeah. I learned something from your presentation. Is this new package for called Blastula. It's the one used to send some of the analytic results to emails. And based on a quick Googling, there are different options. So it could be embedded in a Markdown style, or it's sent via base R. So can you talk a little bit for your experience there and some of the recommendation for people like me who would like to give that a try to disseminate analytic results using this modern way. Yeah.
So by the way, which email system are you using? Are you using Outlook?
Yes.
Okay. So in that case, like I mentioned, this is the reason I mentioned Blastula there is because it has a hex sticker, so it looks good on the presentation. But me personally, I'm not using Blastula because I kind of feel like that's not really the first time I tried it is not really that user friendly. So if you're using Outlook, I would recommend you to use RCOM client. I think so. Yeah, let me type this out to everyone. RCOM client. That will allow you, or Gmail or stuff like that, and then I think this package is very user friendly, for you to send an email through Outlook. And then if it doesn't work, and then definitely chat with me on LinkedIn, and then we will definitely try to help you to find a way to have that work. But my experience is that it's super easy to use, and then just install it, and you can immediately use some of those examples within the package documentation to send out an email. And then always about those, about the markdown style is that I think that's just good for the code part. So that's just going to be your preference, whether you're using base R or R markdown style, to construct the email. The thing is, my experience is that when it comes to that part is mainly HTML coding. So for me, in that case, my number one focus is what's useful. Like I mentioned, to try to find the right balance. What has been working for me the most time is I just code a lot of stuff in HTML. Also, I have limited HTML knowledge, so it's not going to be as pretty as the R Markdown. But if you're interested in just keep using R Markdown style of coding, and then definitely check out the Blast Tooler. I think one of the key functionality they wanted to mention is that you can have the embedded ggplot within your email, which can also be achieved by, let's say, this package R COM client. But that requires you to have some of the minimal HTML knowledge there. So
got
yeah,
it.
I'm not sure if that answers your question.
Yep. Thanks for sharing this experience. I have one a different question actually.
Sure.
So it's a very cool whole pipeline to start from the user request, and then for this data pool and the analytical report and the dissemination. So it's can you talk a little bit? So if there's any update, and there could be, because there are different chains, right? So each component connects each other. Right now, it's nicely. So there, can you talk a bit if there's any component, if there's any update, or if there's you mentioned about unit testing, but what if some of the piece they break, and for those kind of ad hoc challenges, and share some experience of how to deal with that as maintain this whole pipeline. Yeah.
Right. So that kind of requires me to share my screen a little bit. Let me see. All right, so I think you were talking about this, and you're talking about in the development area, if let's say this part broke, right? So in that case, it happens to me very early on, of course. So that's why I ask everybody to come up with the documentation first. So we will always, very early on, we just have this. We just have meeting, development, testing. If the testing broke, they were like, is this problems on the development? And I was like, after checking, after maybe hours of research, I was like, no. And I found out, oh, it's probably something missing from the meeting notes that you didn't share. So that's why I kind of developed this already after upgrades, is that I ask very clear documentation. So you can almost treat this as the software development lifecycle, but in a let's say shortened version of it. So whenever that happens, let's just go back to the documentation to see if there's anything there. If not, let's just figure out if the documentation was written incorrectly. The request isn't really valid. So, but in the case of, I think which happens more frequently is that after the handoff, there's a problem, because if there is new requirements or something broke because of the input, we encounter something new. Then that requires this analyst to update their documentation and to go back in the queue. So in that case, you're now really trying to say that, oh, this one broke, so let me fix that. So your time is limited, right? Everybody's time is limited. In that case, you will need to require that project to go through this queue again. You can either treat that project as refurb, or just start it as a new project. Does that answer your question?
Yep. So it's with this well-developed tool, and plus some of the documentation, the standardization, make this the whole process is more transparent and easy to troubleshoot. Yeah. Right.
And then always remember, you can't do this alone. You have to play well with these two different roles. So and then a lot of times you will need to lean on them to help you to succeed, right?
Yeah, yeah. Okay, thanks for sharing. And
Oh,
one
no.
quick remark to that part. This is also something I try to automate some of the workflow I have and also my side project as well. And recently I encountered a package called Drake. So it's a D-R-A-K. So that one is I learned that a few weeks ago and I immediately fall in love with that. It's super efficient. It's a good pipelining tool like Luigi in Python, and that saves me a lot of time after using it. So that may be another kind of like a tool along with this one you already developed.
Drake is pretty nice. What is that? Will, the guy who developed that?
Developer, yeah. And they maintain a pretty good GitHub page as well with all the community communication.
Right. Yeah. That's a good one. Definitely.
Okay. Yeah.
All right.
Hey,
Let's see.
Hey, this is Richard. I'm just wondering because I use Python a lot. I don't use R a lot, but I'm wondering in CarMax, do you have also like co-workers using Python? If that's the case, how you guys manage a heterogeneous development environment, work together for integration if that happens, and do you have any experience in that front?
Gotcha. So at Carfax, what is that? For I think the main data science language we use is R. But the thing is, within R Markdown, you can actually use Python code. So I think people at RStudio, they kind of helped us to solve this type of issue. So, I think I kind of heard, when I first chatting with Ken, and then he was saying that a lot of times he just, develop a model and then have the results ready through Python, and then use R to import the result and then make some data visualization and Shiny app there. So in that regard, and then you can always break it down to have Python to focus on one thing, and then to have R to focus on the other on another. And then since R Markdown can actually digest the with the articulate package. Me myself, I'm not a Python developer, so I only heard that that has been working pretty well. So in that case, maybe you can check out the articulate package, and then with R Markdown. And then, but in general, just for my company, and then I don't think we have encountered that issue yet.
Great, thank you.
No problem.
Hi, Tiger.
Yep.
Thanks for your presentation. I have a couple of questions. And the first one is our Carfax. Do you guys have access to the BA tools like Tableau or Power BI? If yes, are you going to recommend us to use Tableau or Power BI or the R Shiny to generate report, or other tools in your mind you think is good for that purpose?
Yes, so it's a very good question. I would definitely tell you that I have my own personal preference. I have used Power BI, I have used Tableau, and also, what is that again? There's another one with a headquarter on the Tysons. I forgot it's MicroStrategy. Yes. So for those type of things, and then I think if you're just thinking about, my preference is that if you're just thinking about quickly throwing a data visualization, definitely Power BI, MicroStrategy, or Tableau, they can all work pretty well. But for me, I'm like I said, I'm a big Shiny fan, so my opinion might be biased. In this case, I just feel like a lot of times the problem I'm facing is that the end user would require a lot of interactivity. In that case, Shiny would have the framework to allow me to, let's say, have a simple Shiny app within hours. So, but by doing, I ask more seasoned, let's say, user in Tableau or MicroStrategy, people like that, the other BI tools, to achieve that customization. It might be a little bit harder for those three tools. So for me, I feel like, given time, I can develop. You can almost develop those replication of those functionality within Shiny. So me personally, I just felt like Chinese might gonna be my first go-to. But like I said, I'm a big fan of Chinese, so my idea may probably be biased. So I hope that answers your question.
So my second question is, have you ever experienced any issue to wrestle with the big data in R Shiny? Say millions of new records flushing in every day.
Right. Yeah, I did. So this goes a little bit more into the Shiny development itself. So let's say I used to have this one table I need to show that allows the end user to search within a million entries there. And if you're having that on any of the web application, it's gonna slow you down. But what you can do, I think there is like a server rendering part. I can't remember it 100%, but either server rendering or there is a select input part that will only populate or will only populate traffic when your search criteria matches those. So in that case, I would say definitely try to avoid handling having that type of traffic going through your Shiny app. And then what I would usually do is that I will have a different process on a scheduler to handle all of these data processing on a server, and then mostly have the end results to be handled by Shiny app.
Okay, thank you. And the last question is to Ken, to Ximiao. Is CADSEA planning to set up some sessions for us to help us improve our communication and leadership skills in the near future?
That question leave to Richard. Richard?
Yeah, that's a great question. Actually, we do have the plan. Actually, last year, the annual conference, we invited 3 speakers. The theme of the annual conference in 2019 was leadership in data science and in workplace. So that will be consistently one of our goals to develop for this community. And we will have explicit topic focusing on leadership development and communication skills development. But implicitly, the reason we have this community, we have this association is actually inviting all of us, not just excellent performers, but regular people like you and me to come to the platform and talk and share and asking questions and challenge each other. Through this process, we all get the chance to improve our communication skills and leadership skills. Those skills are very, very practical. It's not just listen to some seminar or hear some speech, then we can get improvement. We have to use it. We have to practice it. So that's why we encourage all of us, come up, challenge, ask questions, participate, volunteer, join the group, do this together. So yes, the short answer to your question is yes, but the long answer can be very, very long, But the essence is definitely that is the core spirit of CADSEA, leading, learning, share. I really encourage you will be part of this.
Thank you.
All right, so I do see there is another question. What do you do with the saved hours? Do you receive more tasks? That's a very good one. So so let's say, hey guys, so let's think of it in this way. So previously I was like, okay, I'm gonna use 30% of my time to develop this, so that, and then now if but previously I was thinking, after those are done, probably I get more tasks. But now I still have that part of the project. I would probably recommend, everybody to look at this in a different way, is that, sure, after, all of these are done, you will get more tasks. But another benefit for that is that I think this will be very, very good for your own personal growth, you know, in the professional personal growth. At that time, I was fairly new to the company, and then this project really helped me out. And then to have, you know, more, when they're thinking about, you know, developing more similar projects like this, probably you're going to be on top of their list when they're thinking about who should lead projects like this, right? So definitely there's going to be more tasks, but maybe tasks that will fit your, you know, maybe they're going to be tasks that previously before this project would not be handed to you, but now they're thinking about, you know, asking you to take over this type of projects, if you understand what I'm saying. So yeah, so and then one of the things that I would emphasize again is that definitely try to, I wouldn't underestimate the efforts for this project when you're doing this, so that you're not giving people the false image that, oh, you know, let's say this project can really be achieved easily. So next time we're just gonna give him or her the same estimate for the similar projects. No, for me, I usually give, you know, the right amount of the estimation that will make me comfortable, and then you know, still make this project sounds plausible there. So I hope that answers that question.
Yeah, so I guess when we say saved hours, it's not saved your hours, actually saved your company, your organization's hours, so that they can have more resource to allocate it to other, you know, projects, right? With the same resource, you can do a lot more work. And actually, what Tiger presented today are some, you know, big projects, kind of big projects from end to end. Actually, my experience is that R can actually kick in many different ways in your daily work. Like I'm personally a model validator right now in Fannie Mae, right? So in Fannie Mae, the senior managers and the senior leaderships, they kind of endorse Python a lot more than R. So a lot of models are actually developed in Python these days. And previously, a few years ago, a lot of models are actually developed in SAS. And so actually R is my language. So when when a new project, a model came into my hand, the first thing I did is I wanted to assess if I can translate the model into R, and how many hours, how much level of efforts it's gonna take me to translate into R, and then I can start my work. So I only for those like big models written in, you know, thousands of lines of Python, which take a good amount of time for me to translate to R, I have to stay with Python. Otherwise, I'm going to translate into R and do all the validation work and the visualization in R, because as Tiger mentioned many times, you know, R is a great source, great tool for data visualization. And when I validate a model, I really wanted to, you know, tell a story, like whether the model works and why it works or not. And I want to use data visualization to convince people and my argument. And so, and also, I don't have to build R Shiny, but actually when I validate a model, I not oftentimes I build a R Shiny dashboard just over the weekend, maybe a couple of days, and show some major performance in some major dimensions, and present that to the manager, to the stakeholders, and that make a lot of sense than, you know, the pure numbers that you can see in tables. So yeah, so basically I mean that R can, you know, play roles in many different ways in your daily job.
Cool.
Any other questions? Okay, so I think we can close our speech today. And Richard, you have anything, or Casey?
Yeah, I just want to thank one of our sponsors that will sign up the sponsorship program to support CADSEA in the next year. It's a Tucson Academy hosted by Yongjie for data science training using different data science tools. So we encourage, we very grateful for businesses and training corporation, training institutes or universities to sponsor CADSEA. This is a non-profit organization. We rely on sponsorship and the membership fee to keep improving our service of the programs so that we can serve a larger and a larger community with better and better programs. I really appreciate that. And I very much look forward to seeing all of the attendees of this online meetup in our membership program and see you there. And we will definitely have a much, much better future in data science as a group, as a community. Thank you.
Thank you, Richard. Yeah, we will send out the email regarding the membership program to you. If you are willing to support our community, and check that out. And also we will inform you for our next event, which is coming soon, maybe in July. Just keep tuned. Thank you all for attending this forum. Looking forward to seeing you all next time.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Tiger.
See you next time.
Thank you, Tiger.
Everyone.
Thank you.
Bye, guys.